Marker number 4.
Hello, Moto.
You know, fame can change people, Jules.
Yeah, boss, but it hasn't changed us a bit. Hit it!
The jungle's cool, but it's too hot for celebrities.
Before you know it, they'll be praying down on their knees.
Okay, they're famous. They think they're so cool and fly.
What happens when their dues
Could use a blow dry. They're flipping crazy if they think their fame is heaven sent.
They're in the bush, these guys. You
Can't call your agent. I can't believe they found another 10 famous mugs.
Before you know it, we'll have them eating flaming bugs.
I'm a Celebrity, coming soon.
Roasted oven door, baked grungy casserole dish, crispy grill pan, fairy power spray. Better than scrubbing or soaking. Just leave the phone to do its magic, then simply wipe away the tough stuff. Nouvelle casserole dish. New fairy power spray. Burnt on food, beware.
Now, for just $9.99, nachos, sour cream and salsa, plus a large pan or Italian pizza. Grab a slice of the action.
The first rule of boxing is control. It's not about losing it with someone. It's about keeping your composure. But if I was called out to a home where it seems a man was using his fist on a woman, beating her up over some domestic row, I don't know if I could keep my cool with that man. I couldn't swear to that.
In this week's bulging 60p new magazine, pregnant celebrities and a freestyle mag inside. New magazine 60p or free with OK. The hottest celebrity gossip.
Better hurry. Until the 15th of January, there's nothing to pay for a year, plus an extra 25% off sale prices. Only at MFI.
Working down pit has left me with a lot of memories and a bad chest. Thousands of miners of the family still haven't claimed compensation. They should, and it's their right. There's still time. This industry gave us a living but took away our health, and you can't breathe memories. State your claim now.
For the facts on miners' compensation, call Rayleigh's Solicitors free on 08000 737 733 or visit the website mineworkersclaims.com.
Hot Pops! Hot Pops!
Hot Pops! Hot Pops!
Hot Pops, my new succulent turkey snacks with crispy crumb coating. Delicious from the microwave. New Hot Pops from Bernard Matthews.
Beautiful.
Still getting dandruff? Neutrogena T-Gel shampoo clears even the most stubborn dandruff and relieves the scalp. T-Gel from Neutrogena. It works.
A soldier will find a way of life worth dying for. Tom Cruise, The Last Samurai.
So is your office in the city?
Yeah, but I live quite far out. I like to get away from it, you know. But I still drive in every day.
Oh, what do you drive?
I drive a Toyota Corolla. It's silver.
Ollie, come on!
Some children wet the bed. It's not uncommon. Dry Night's pyjama pants are absorbent and help keep things dry and comfortable until they've grown out of it. Nighttime confidence. Care of Dry Nights.
Women just can't drive, and that's it.
Men are they're aggressive. They've always got something to prove when they're driving. Yeah, it's like this macho thing.
How many women motor racing drivers are there?
Women are the better drivers from insurance point of view.
My sister's a brilliant town driver, but she's on the motorway.
What do you think? Be part of it. Take the Great British Driving Test, Men vs Women, Monday at 9 on ITV1.
Pretty Woman continues in just half an hour here on ITV1 after Tuesday's latest news with John Suchet.
Harold Shipman, Britain's worst serial killer, hangs himself in jail. Anger from the families of the 215 patients it's known he killed.
We've been cheated out of the answers to the questions that all the families have, and that is to why committing the crimes that he did.
Royal shooting row, how school children got an apology. And safe hands no more. David Seaman hangs up his gloves.
The ITV News with John Suchet.
Good evening. Harold Shipman had already claimed his macabre place in history as Britain's worst serial killer. This morning, the final chapter in his now infamous life ended in his suicide. He was serving life for 15 murders, though his known victims numbered well over 200. He spoke to his wife Primrose last night, but prison officers monitoring the call detected nothing unusual. For a man who became a master of undetectable death, his own was rather more primitive. He was found dead in his cell at Wakefield Jail, a noose made from sheets around his neck. He would have been 58 tomorrow. James Mates is outside the jail tonight. James.
John, there are few who will mourn his passing, whether here in Wakefield or elsewhere. But as Harold Shipman's body lies in a Sheffield mortuary tonight awaiting a post-mortem, there are those who've been greatly distressed by his suicide. They are the families of his victims, hundreds of them, who feel angry and cheated by what was allowed to happen in this prison early this morning. A final act of defiance. Harold Shipman, the man who craved control above all else, took his own decision about when his life sentence would end. This was the only way, inside an undertaker's van, that he was ever going to leave prison. The authorities failed to stop him taking hundreds of lives. Early this morning they failed to stop him taking his own. Shipman was in top security Category A Wakefield prison, but was not on suicide watch. He was checked frequently, but not frequently enough to spot him fashioning a ligature from his sheets and tying it to the bars on his window. Shipman was far from being a model prisoner. Last month he had lost his television and been put back in prison uniform for being surly and for challenging authority. But these privileges had recently been restored. His routine last night gave no cause for concern. At around 5 p.m. he ate his last meal in the prison canteen. Sometime after 6 p.m. he phoned his wife. This call was listened to by prison officers, but gave no indication he was potentially suicidal. At 8 p.m. he was locked in his cell, checked throughout the night, roughly every hour. At 5 a.m. the night patrol officer found him alive and well, but at 6:20 he was discovered hanging behind a window curtain. Attempts to resuscitate him were unsuccessful, and at 8:10 a.m. he was pronounced dead. Outside the Shipman home this afternoon, one of his sons was clearly angry at the presence of the media.
Let me make this very clear to you all. There will be no comment made today. Go home.
But angry too, the families of his father's victims. Families of the 15 patients at this surgery Shipman was convicted of killing, and of the 215 more he's believed to have killed. Particularly distressed that they'll never find out exactly what happened, nor why.
I was very, very shocked initially, and that shock very quickly turned to anger, as I've been deprived of my focus for my anger and frustration and sense of injustice.
An inquiry into how Shipman cheated the law and his victims has already begun. How was it that a man so evil had been allowed to have the final say? Whatever else he was, Shipman was a clever man. For years he had hidden the fact that he was killing hundreds of his patients. Perhaps less surprising then that at the end he was able to hide his intention to kill himself. John.
Thank you. In the town of Hyde, where Shipman had his surgery, the families of his victims feel angry that he cheated them in death as he did in life. Nothing can bring back their loved ones. But while he was still alive, there was just a chance Shipman could answer their questions. Why did he do it, and how did he choose who lived or died? Tim Rogers is in Hyde tonight. Tim.
His name will forever be a stain on this community, and for many people here tonight, even in the moment of death, Harold Shipman betrayed them once again.
These are the faces that still haunt their families. Nearly all female, nearly all elderly, nearly all trusting the doctor they thought of as a friend. But they all died at his hands. And how many were there? Well, no one really knows. Every day, Barry Swan grieves for his mother. Like so many others, he and she put their faith in Harold Shipman. But Shipman betrayed them, and Barry's mother died. Now Shipman is gone, but so too is the hope for answers to the many questions that still remain.
Perhaps being realistic about it, we will never know. But while he was alive, there was hope he might have a change of heart and explain why he did these things. But now he's gone. It's gone forever, isn't it?
The fact is that in Hyde, you don't have to look far to find someone touched by Shipman's evil.
Well, I'm glad he's done it. Yeah, I am. If I could have grabbed myself, I'd have done it. He killed my wife in '93.
In the community where Harold Shipman did his worst, this street is where his worst was done. He regularly visited several elderly patients in this street. They all thought of him as a kind, caring and compassionate doctor. But in the end, 5 of them paid for that trust with their lives.
Man and wife died in the second one down, number 50. 2 brothers.
Pat Shaw knew them all. Friends, neighbours, murder victims. Do you think you'll ever be rid of him, even though he's gone?
I doubt it. Do you? I always be on people's minds, don't I? I don't think I'll ever leave people. Never.
So now he's gone, but he's taken with him the reasons, if there were any, for why he did what he did.
There was always that little slight chance that whilst he was alive, at some point in time he may show remorse and may show compassion and may, you know, think about the family's relatives and sort of give us the answers that we need for finality, really.
Even in future, Harold Shipman will haunt this place because for hundreds of people here, they will have to continue to live with their own life sentence.
His old surgery behind me now is closed and a new surgery has just opened in another part of the town. But because Harold Shipman died without remorse, without any explanation, without any confession, Hyde will never forgive him.
Thank you, Tim. Long after he began his cycle of murder, his unsuspecting patients continued to trust him. They knew nothing of his obsession with death. But what drove him to kill time and time again? Colin Baker has reported on the Shipman story since it first came to light. Tonight he tries to get inside the mind of the healer turned killer.
The eyes that bore witness to Shipman's killings gave little away, except the silent smirk of arrogance that seemed to lurk behind. On the western slopes of the Pennines, Harold Shipman played God to the people of Todmorden and Hyde, who were his patients. But did the man who spent 2 decades killing without revealing any emotion really become so destabilised because he lost his TV set and had to wear prison clothing? Emotion and remorse were strangers on the sideboard of Harold Shipman. But the detective who caught him believed there was always a chance he would one day acknowledge his guilt.
There are killers who are in prison who took 10 or 15 years to confess their parts in serial killings, and I think there was always the potential there for Harold Shipman to do that.
Primrose Shipman would never talk about her husband. Though during the trial she and I talked every day, it was for her to extol the delights of her native Yorkshire or to jokingly complain about having too many shirts to wash and iron for the men in her life.
but not once did she react to the evidence against her husband. Shipman was interviewed on ITV 22 years ago. He was already killing, but was quite prepared to talk about community care.
If you can stay in the community, receive your treatment in the community, with your family around you, your usual friends, then this all adds to the speed of recovery from the illness.
It was Shipman's greed which led to his downfall. He forged the will of former Hyde Mayoress Kathleen Grundy. The police were called in and exhumations of other patients followed. Over the winter of 1998 and 1999, further tests on the bodies of Shipman's patients showed they had all died from morphine overdoses. Before Christmas, Shipman had been allowed to wear his own clothes and have his own TV set in his cell. But these privileges were withdrawn because of his attitude towards staff, and he was reduced to working in the prison textile workshop. Shipman may have realised he no longer had any control over any aspect of his life. The man who was addicted to murder would never be free to kill again. He was cut off from his victims, only he remained until this morning. Colin Baker, ITV News.
An independent inquiry will try to answer the question on everyone's mind: how was Harold Shipman allowed to kill himself? And that's the question the prison ombudsman said today he would set out to answer. Still to come on the ITV News tonight. Retiring from football, but will David Seaman be remembered for this or for this? And how a royal shoot upset the children at this school.
And many of the children were actually very upset actually watching pheasants falling actually from the sky.
Those stories when we come back.
You know how it is if you put some things off. They get worse and worse. The same applies if you don't get your tax return in and anything you owe by January the 31st. You'll get hit by a £100 penalty plus interest. So don't ignore it. Self-assessment. Tax doesn't have to be taxing.
Follow me now, follow me now, follow me now, follow me now, follow me na casa que quando você atira, eu já não sou a mira, eu sou a sua sombra, eu sou a sua sombra, já vai partir o trem, nossa festa de arromba, você vê, tem que caguetou, tem que caguetou, tem que caguetou, tem que caguetou. A levada rasga, Miami drama em dois, raga, viajo.
Energy is the lifeblood of your business. %30 of it is going to waste. Save energy. Save money. For a free starter pack, call Action Energy on 0800 917 30 30.
The city! How romantic!
A trip to somewhere special, £400.
Cheers! Come along, boys!
A few souvenirs, £1,000. A little culture, £150.
No cats in this one, right? I don't think so.
A holiday with people who make you feel warm and fuzzy, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard, accepted for all your travel needs, from flights to sights.
The Independent, now available in 2 sizes.
Welcome back. The inquiry began today into how Ian Huntley got a job at a school despite a history of sex allegations against him. It started with a promise from the inquiry chairman who said today, "I will not shirk from pointing out who was to blame." Harry Smith reports.
I would therefore like to ask you to stand with me for a moment of silent reflection.
The inquiry chairman reminding those present of the importance of the task ahead. The inquiry was set up to find out why Huntley was given the job as school caretaker when he had a string of sex allegations against him. In his own words, before his arrest, he highlighted the sort of concerns many now feel.
It's very frustrating knowing that we have people that way inclined amongst us and us not knowing who they are.
Huntley was speaking then while the search for Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman was still going on. Only he knew he had already murdered them. Among those who'll give evidence to the inquiry are officers from the two police forces, Cambridgeshire and Humberside, who were responsible for checking Huntley's background when he applied for the school job.
If tough questions are needed, then I will ask the tough questions. And I said that if criticism was needed, then I wouldn't shirk from making criticism, whether it's of individuals or organisations. This is too important a case not to do that.
The inquiry won't start hearing evidence until next month. Once underway, it's expected to last 3 weeks. Sir Michael has said that as well as being thorough, he intends to move quickly so that any lessons learned can soon be put into effect. Harry Smith, ITV News at the Bishard inquiry.
A British lorry driver has won his appeal against an 11-year jail sentence in Greece for smuggling refugees. David Wilson from Bradford in West Yorkshire was jailed after 19 illegal immigrants were found in his lorry last March. But a Greek judge today cleared him of people smuggling. The former Cabinet Minister, Claire Short, says Tony Blair should move on if he loses the Commons vote on university tuition fees. She also said losing him as Prime Minister was no longer a frightening prospect for Labour backbenchers. And the trawler Gaul was definitely not spying on the Russians when it sank nearly 30 years ago. That's according to the Attorney General, who was giving evidence at the start of the inquiry into the sinking. The Gaul went down off Norway in 1974. All 36 crewmen died. Children in a school playground on the Sandringham estate have been confronted by the sight of a royal shooting party killing birds in an adjoining field. It happened last Friday and Prince Philip is believed to have been in the party. Today, the children got an apology from estate officials. Lauren Taylor reports.
Pheasant shooting went on as normal today at the Sandringham estate, with the Queen and Prince Philip both thought to have been present. But a similar shoot on Friday came too close for comfort for children at this school, to the field opposite, in fact. Sue Bryan runs the school's birdwatching club and was in the playground with the pupils when the shooting began.
The children were very upset. They actually saw the birds falling from the sky. They asked me if I could go across and ask the gunmen if they would stop shooting.
Many of the children have now written to the head teacher and the royal estate complaining about what they saw.
Obviously, living in a rural environment, we are aware of the pheasant shooting taking place, and we have in the past heard the guns, but children at school have never seen the pheasants being shot, and this is what they found so upsetting.
Prince Philip was photographed on Friday out shooting. It's not clear whether he was with the party that upset the children, but the agent for the estate has apologised for any distress caused and confirmed that in future any shooting won't take place during school breaks. It's not the first time the royals' love of country pursuits has ruffled feathers. A couple of years ago, Prince Charles's decision to take Prince William fox hunting infuriated anti-hunt campaigners. As Prince Philip and the Queen continue their Christmas break at Sandringham, they can now expect a bundle of letters of complaint from school children. Lauren Taylor, ITV News.
For years, he had the safest pair of hands in English football. But tonight, David Seaman, now of Manchester City, announced he was hanging up his gloves for good. City will replace him with another England goalkeeper, David James. Our sports editor, Tim Ewart, reports on the end of a footballing era.
David Seaman played his last game at Portsmouth at the weekend. This collision was to prove one injury too many, a depressing end to an illustrious career. Tragically, he may be remembered not for brilliance like this, but for his blunders. And there were some horrors. This goal, scored against Arsenal by Naeem of Real Zaragoza, was the inspiration for endless chants by opposing fans and was to haunt David Seaman for years. Then there was Ronaldinho's winner in the 2002 World Cup. David Beckham tried to comfort an inconsolable goalkeeper. Seaman left the stadium head bowed and in tears. And later the same year, the corner that became a goal as Macedonia embarrassed England and ended Seaman's international career.
Overall, you've got to look at the whole big picture of his career. Fabulous, fabulous career. And I think people should, and I hope they will, remember the times that he's brought so much pleasure and joy to not just the Arsenal fans, but the England fans as well.
Of the great moments, none were more memorable than this in last year's FA Cup semi-final against Sheffield United. It was Seaman's 1000th professional game and the stuff of legend. And there were many others in a career that spanned 22 years and included 75 internationals. David James, Seaman's England replacement, has now been sold by West Ham to take over from him at Manchester City 2. He knows that David Seaman is a hard act to follow. Tim Hewitt, ITV News.
And safe hands around the country are waiting to bring you the news.
Thanks, John. Good evening and welcome to the news from the Callander region. Well, as you'll have heard, an inquiry is being launched into the apparent suicide of serial killer Harold Shipman. The former GP was found hanging in his cell at Wakefield Prison early this morning. Well, our reporter Chris Kiddie has spent the day in Todmorden, where Shipman began his murderous reign 23 years ago.
It's the last town before you head into Lancashire. It's also the place where Shipman began his killing spree in the mid-1970s. He's remembered for his work at what was then the medical centre here, before he was forced to leave town in disgrace. Reaction from those who knew him today.
Shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but we don't have to keep him anymore, do we? It wasn't going to be any good for us, was it?
Some people will say probably that he's done the right thing, but I don't know. I don't think so. I think he should have served a long sentence.
One man who knew him better than most, one of his former partners in practice.
When you think about his character, he liked to be in control, and I suppose this way he would have felt that he was in control again. He was controlling what happened.
He never acknowledged his crimes, though, did he? He never admitted to what he'd done.
I don't know. I think it's very sad that we won't hear any more from him. That there won't come an opportunity for him to explain to us what went on, if he knew himself.
With Shipman's death, then, goes the secrets of his time in Todmorden.
Well, there are celebrations in Bradford tonight after a Greek court cleared lorry driver David Wilson of any wrongdoing. Mr. Wilson was convicted of smuggling 19 Iraqi refugees in the back of his truck, but he always protested his innocence. Lindsay Eastwood reports.
His 9-month ordeal over, lorry driver David Wilson walks free from court in the Greek port of Patras. His innocence proved, his name finally cleared.
Thank him very much. Everybody's believed in me. It's a good result for them as well.
His family back in Wyke near Bradford have been spreading the good news all day.
The telephone suddenly rang and it was David. And I could tell by his voice it was good. And he's just said, "Mum, I've been acquitted." And he was very emotional but very bright.
Mr. Wilson was given an 11-year jail sentence in March last year after 19 illegal immigrants were found in the back of his truck. They all made statements saying they hid without his knowledge, but he still served 9 weeks in a Greek jail before being released on bail, pending this appeal.
We've had a long 9 months, and now big weight has been lifted off the family now, so get back to normal.
David and his wife Tracy are expected to fly back home in the next few days after making arrangements for his impounded truck to be returned to him. In the meantime, the rest of his family and friends are planning a big homecoming celebration.
Relatives of the 36 men who died with the sinking of the hull trawler the Gull are hoping the opening of a new public inquiry today will reveal at long last just what happened. For 30 years, the Gauls lain on the bed of the Barents Sea, whilst rumours have persisted what she was sunk was because she was spying on the Soviet Navy. Well, there's speculation that an officer from MI6 will give evidence from behind screens during the 5-week inquiry. But for today, a minute's silence to remember those who lost their lives.
Rumours and suspicion that the Gaul was a spy ship engaged in activities other than fishing have been prevalent ever since her loss. And that matter, irrespective of whether it was relevant to her loss or not, must be dealt with by this inquiry.
Anything that brings the truth out to us, because over the years we've been lied to terribly by the government and various people.
A violent convict from York still on the run tonight, having disappeared with his young son after escaping from open prison in Lincolnshire. 31-year-old Carl Gaskin, who was serving a 5-year sentence for wounding and criminal damage, left North Sea Camp Prison on Christmas Day before snatching his 10-year-old son Carl Tyler from a house in South Lincolnshire. The pair have since been spotted in Middlesbrough, York and Doncaster. The last sighting of them was in Retford last Saturday. A man's in a critical condition in hospital after he was injured while trying to foil a robbery. The 41-year-old was crushed by a heavy metal gate as he and work colleagues in Rotherham tried to prevent thieves from making off in a transit van. It's thought the 3 suspects deliberately drove into the gates at business premises on Greasborough Road at lunchtime. The white van was later found abandoned and police are appealing for witnesses. Football now. Well, there's no dream time, I'm afraid, for Rotherham in the 4th round of the FA Cup. In a shock result, they were beaten 2-1 by Northampton in tonight's 3rd round replay at Millmoor. It's a massive disappointment for Ronnie Moore's side, who would have faced Manchester United in the next round. But 3rd Division Scunthorpe United will face Premiership opposition after beating 2nd Division Barnsley by 2-0 in their replay at Glanford Park. Brian Law's men will face Portsmouth in the 4th round. Meanwhile, in the 3rd Division, Lincoln City, they were held to a goalless draw by Cheltenham at Sinsel Bank. The Imps remain 7th in the table. Bit of a mixed bag. Well, that's all from me for now, but we'll be back tomorrow morning. Breakfast News, GMTV, bright and breezy. But from me now, I'll hand you back to John. Good night.
Hello again. One story dominates the news tonight. Harold Shipman, Britain's most prolific serial killer, is dead. He was found hanged in his cell. He phoned his wife Primrose hours before he committed suicide. Prison staff heard nothing to indicate what he was about to do. And the families of his victims are angry. They say they'll never know why he killed their loved ones. And that's the news. Next, on the ITV News channel, the Tonight programme looks back at that television interview Harold Shipman gave more than 20 years ago. From me and the team, good night.
ITV National Weather, sponsored by Powergen.
Hello, good evening. I'm afraid it's not great news over the next few days. Rather unsettled, wet and windy with it as well. Chilly in the east tonight, dipping temperatures and some touches of frost in eastern Scotland. Exposed coast see some showers out to the west, falling as wintry showers in parts of Scotland, hills and mountains there. Then more organised cloud and rain in the southwest. So into tomorrow in the south, dull, miserable start, some showers around, and these move off eastwards, all's not lost. We see some brightness peeping through. Further north, an east-west split. Best of the brightness in the east. Showers, again wintry on Scottish hills and mountains there in the west. These are the sorts of temperatures we can expect tomorrow. Around about 7:45 in Fahrenheit there in Cardiff. That's all from me. Good night.
Positive energy from Powergen.
Look at this, baby! All new American Idol is coming, and looking back at last year, expect plenty of this. Is it?
Take a good look at me, my love!
Followed by this.
You don't think you're that bad?
No, I don't.
But I promise you,
It's
I
not a
can
question.
sing.
Singing is my thing. Brand new American Idol coming soon on ITV2.
Now, have you decided yet?
Large cone with raspberry sauce. Copycat. Look, pack it in, you two.
Oh no, I'm out of cash.
Ah, didn't we pass a post office?
If you have an Alliance and Leicester, Barclays or Lloyds TSB current account, you can now use your card over the counter at the post office. It's simple and it's free.
That should cool them off a bit.
I wouldn't count on it. The post office, for the little things that make the big things happen.
If the future's sorted, you can afford to live a little. Clerical Medical. Plan for tomorrow, live for today.
I've lost my credit card. I had it when I bought the tickets.
I hope it was your Capital One card.
No, it's my other one. Hey! Cinderella's stealing my credit card!
If it had been a Capital One no-hassle Platinum card, she wouldn't be liable for a penny.
Hey! What's in your wallet?
For your free 2004 holiday planner, call 08454 56 56 56.
Locomotives of the world explore the exciting world of trains through our fascinating magazines and models. First issue includes the Flying Scotsman and comes at a fantastic price.
Ooh, that smells bad. Hang on, I've got an idea.
No! Fortunately, there's Glade Touch and Fresh Bathroom.
That smells really nice.
Touch and Fresh Bathroom from Glade, breathing life into your home.
New Toilet Duct Duo Discreet coats limescale crystals so they can't stick to the bowl. New Toilet Duct Duo Discreet helps stop limescale starting.
Women look great in black, but not if their antiperspirant leaves white marks. Unlike some antiperspirants, new Shore Crystal contains Clear-X, so it's unbeatable at minimising white marks.
Highly developed. The new 2004 Freelander.
Yorkshire weather, in association with Budget. For low-cost car and home insurance, whatever the weather. Smart people.
Hello again. Through the night we've seen the occasional shower around the region, but it's generally dry now before tomorrow morning. Perhaps some sleet and snow though earlier if you are in the Pennines. Generally for the rest of tonight it is drying and clearing, temperatures down to and just above freezing and winds still brisk. The sun rises tomorrow at 8:17, setting at 4:13 tomorrow afternoon. A largely dry day in store for tomorrow with brightness and in fact sunshine across many parts for the afternoon. Temperatures tomorrow to around 7 Celsius, that's around average for the time of year, and those winds still brisk and westerly but nothing like as windy as it has been today. Looking ahead to Thursday, a bright and dry start. Clouding up from the southwest with rain after dark. Temperatures once again to around 7 Celsius. That's it. Good night.
For low-cost car and home insurance, smart people.
So how far would you go to further your fortune? Well, no holds